I never imagined I'd find my past with my ex-lover and our twins in such a heartbreaking moment. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started like any other Friday. The sun shone bright, almost too bright, as if it were trying to blind me to the storm brewing just beneath the surface. I was running late, heart racing, fingers trembling around my coffee cup. Overflowing, splitting hotter than the weight of my thoughts. Then, I saw her. Sarah. The girl who had haunted my dreams for years. She stood there, in the middle of the park, hair shifting softly in the wind. My breath caught in my throat. Sometime before, we had shared everything: dreams, secrets, laughter, and a love that felt everlasting. But now it was just a painful memory, edged with the bitterness of loss. And then, they appeared. My twins, running towards her with unabashed joy. Their laughter rang out, pure and innocent, sending chills down my spine. I froze in place. Their tiny hands reached up for her, and I felt a rush of heartbreak. A punch to my gut. The moment I saw them wrap their arms around her, it was like a knife twisting slowly inside me. What was happening? I had assumed they belonged with me, carved out of my own heart, pieces of love I thought would always be mine. Yet here they were, finding comfort in the arms of someone who had once shattered me. The world around us blurred. The park, with its cheerful noises and fluttering leaves, faded into the background, leaving only the chaos of my mind. I had never imagined this scene, a moment stealing my breath and taunting me with shadows of the past. What did she tell them? Did she speak of our love, or did she bury it beneath layers of time? My heart raced, an erratic tattoo of confusion and jealousy. I needed to know, needed to understand. As I stepped closer, every heartbeat echoed painfully in my ears, and the silence between us grew louder. The air thickened, charged with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. What would I say when I reached them? Would my voice tremble? Would tears spill, revealing what I had tried to hide? Then I caught Sarah's eye. Time froze. There was a flicker of recognition, a million unexpressed emotions dancing between us. She shifted slightly, children still clinging to her. A wave of anxiety crashed over me. I wasn't prepared for this. Would I tell them who I was, or remain a ghost in their lives? Suddenly, the weight of my choices pressed down on my chest. Each option felt like stepping into darkness, uncertain of what lay ahead. I took a deep breath and moved forward, hearts pounding against the ticking clock of destiny. Was this a chance to reclaim what was once ours, or only a descent into more pain? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The moment stretched into eternity, suspended between the past and a future I had never envisioned. I took another shaky step, ready to expose the void that had grown in my chest over years of silence. A dream began to form, an impossible wish where we could just be a family again, free from the burden of what had torn us apart. But reality insisted like a cruel whispering wind, reminding me of the damage that had been done. Mommy. One of the twins squealed, noticing me for the first time. Her voice was sweet, innocent, yet it felt like an arrow piercing my heart. Look. It's Daddy. The words sat heavy in the air, filled with years of unspoken anguish. My kids had called my absence normal, and now, in the slightest moment of recognition, I realized how much I had allowed myself to stay hidden. I forced a smile, one that cracked at the edges with the weight of my internal turmoil. Hey, Pumpkin, I managed, savoring their joy even as it tasted like ash. But both children simply remained there, eager-eyed, bouncing on their toes, waiting expectantly. Sarah shifted, a mask of composure slipping briefly. The joy in the kids' laughter danced over her face, but I saw the flicker in her eyes, a blend of confusion and resentment. What are you doing here? The underlying tension swelled between us, twisting tightly around my stomach. Her voice held a cool edge, the years since our last encounter woven through with the pain of old wounds. I had imagined this moment in so many different ways, yet I hadn't anticipated being met with a cold, protective aura that shielded both her and the kids. I just wanted to see them, I stammered, my own voice feeling foreign. I want to meet them, to be in their lives. The air felt heavy, vibrating with the unmet emotions that had lain dormant. Sarah nonetheless took a small step back, the children's laughter dimming in the shadow of the volatility between us. No longer an uncomplicated reunion, this was raw and tangled, the aftermath of a battle neither of us had truly won. As shadows started to cross the sun, pouring over us, they carried with them the undertow of fate's hand. You can't just show up, not after all this time, Sarah replied, barrage of memories flooding her expression. They think you left for a better job. You left us behind. That I thought it was for the best, I protested, feeling the sting of my own decisions unravel before me. Every layer of honesty lost in between the harsh words. But it nearly broke me. I never wanted to leave you leave them, and yet, you did. Her challenge landed like brick, heavy and relentless. It ignited the kind of anger that churned dangerously inside, brushing against a threshold that threatened to snap. Behind that anger, though, there was something tender too, a nostalgia that craved connection. I noticed how her hands trembled slightly, betraying the fierce front she was desperately trying to maintain. Children still beamed at both of us, unaware of the tension crackling between their parents. Can we have ice cream? They chirped in unison, oblivious to the emotional storm brewing just a few feet away. Sarah's expression softened at their innocent interruption, and in that moment, time seemed to bend once more. Maybe a little later, she replied with a gentle smile, albeit still shielded. Each small gesture, especially hers, pierced my heart. It felt like hope, however fleeting, flickering to life, a warmth that battled against the icy grip of regret. Perhaps, as fragile as it was, there might still be room for compassion amidst our struggles. Before I could collect my thoughts, I felt the shockwave of the arriving storm rumbling through the park. The clouds thickened, and I instinctively reached for one of the twins. Let's go find shelter, quick. We can still all stay together. No sooner had I made the suggestion than the sky erupted. Rain poured down in sheets, and the children squealed with delight, dashing for cover under the park gazebo. As we huddled in, I glanced back at Sarah, the look on her face warring between caution and curiosity, but as I turned to check on the twins, I realized with horror that they weren't the only ones sheltering from the storm. Seconds later, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a figure in the distance, obscured by the rain. My heart dropped as recognition faded into shock. There stood Ethan, Sarah's husband. The cloud of unintentional synchronicity gathered around us, heavy with implications. The rain wasn't the only storm that threatened to drown us. Under the pattern of the droplets fell another unlikely twist. My heart raced as every light dimmed. How would Ethan react to my reappearance? Would the warmth nurturing my fading hope be extinguished in a heartbeat? I could feel the weight of uncertainty crashing down around us like the rain, drenching hopes I dared not imagine. The world blurred into a torrent of gray as the rain cascaded around us, but my focus narrowed in on Ethan's silhouette slowly resolving through the downpour. His expression was indecipherable, locked somewhere between disbelief and fury. As he stepped closer, the echoes of past loyalties circling ominously. I had imagined 1,000 scenarios, but they all paled in comparison to this one. This was not what I expected when I took the courageous step to reunite with my family. This was a fracture in frail resolutions, a collision I had feared. Dean? Ethan's voice cut through the roars of thunder, slicing the air like a knife. He advanced, water soaking into his clothes, features taut with tension that mirrored the strained atmosphere. What are you doing here? The immediate defensiveness was palpable, and I opened my mouth to justify myself, but the words clung to my throat like stones. They wouldn't free themselves, they would only weigh me down further. Instead, my gaze flitted back to Sarah, her face a canvas of emotions rapidly changing: worry, anger, then something softer, like fear. I started, but the choking sting of my own guilt stifled me. All eyes were on the children, small and innocent, still laughing and playing under the dusky gazebo, unaware of the adult tribulation spiraling just above their heads. I didn't want to ruin this for them. Ethan's eyes dropped to the twins, confusion morphing into sharp scrutiny. They don't know? His question was laced with a mix of disbelief and protectiveness that made my heart sink. No. Sarah's voice stood strong, a wall I couldn't breach. They think he left for a job opportunity. Is that really what you think, Dean? Ethan's voice rose in the tumult, charged with a tingling anger I had only ever felt in imagined conflicts in my mind. That you can just show up and pretend like nothing happened? That they won't feel anything when they find out the truth? I never meant for it to be like this. I shot back, a wild jolt of frustration clawing at my insides. All I wanted was a chance to be part of their Levesto, be a father. The rain continued to fall, the drops painting despair and urgency across Sarah's face. She took a careful step forward, appearing fragile against the noise of our world, as if all her breaths were now tethered to the resolution of this instant. Dean, the truth is heavy, and the children are too young. I hesitated. Each second stretched, and with each passing moment, my uncertainty clawed at the edges of my resolve. But I can't stay invisible forever. I want them to know me. I want them to know us. Ethan scoffed, the sound sharp as thunder. You think this is about you? You think that after everything, they'll just accept you back? Ethan, please. Sarah intervened softly. We need to talk about this. Not here, not now, where they can hear. Still, all the while, my heart ached. Conversation had become a battlefield, each word was laced in severity, shackling the glimmers of hope I had desperately clung to, but the twins were still joyful, singing and splashing in the puddles forming beneath their feet like unwitting angels. They reminded me of the fragile joy I craved, and yet, my presence felt like a wicked curse under this roof of uncertainty. My heart clenched at I just want to see them, I whispered, raw and exposed. Can't we at least start from there? Ethan's glare pierced through the downpour, resolute yet demanding. It screamed that he would stand as their barricade, and I would be the outsider. Suddenly and unervingly, one of the twins turned to me, eyes glowing with innocence, and bound toward me, laughter framing her voice. Daddy, come play. The other followed suit, giggling wildly, urging me to join in their carefree revelry as they danced in the rain. That word, Daddy, thundered in my chest. It was impossibly sweet and deeply unsettling, a reminder of the gaping chasm I had let grow between us. They didn't understand the stakes or the hidden tensions, nor did they possess the fears of bygone sentiments, just love that was innocent and pure. That I reached tentatively toward them, swept away in their joy, but Sarah stepped forward, her expression fierce yet softened by the hope held within her. Maybe he's right, maybe we all need to think about this. Her words hung in the air, shimmering like the raindrops spilling from the heavens above. But before I could register her concession, Ethan's voice boomed louder. No. You can't leave them with him. And as that fiery declaration filled the space, the heavens roared once more, drowning out our voices. Time paused, and another wave of swift tumult threatened to unravel us. The children paused mid-laugh. I felt the weight of their youthful trust, their innocence slipping like the turbulent rain around us, echoing the deepest fears that lingered in my heart. I wanted to grapple for the fragments of this moment, to construct a bond once lost, but the fragile remnants of unity seemed to swirl away, further from my reach. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed movement within the depths of the storm. A dark figure approached, emerging from the shadows obscured by torrential rain. My heartbeat quickened, dread infusing me like the chilling breeze, every protective fiber instinctively tightened in my chest. Perhaps, in this moment of ruin, something else was lurking, an unexpected player ready to turn everything on its head. With one final step forward, the figure stepped into the light, revealing not just another soul, but the very specter of my past. It was Jenna, my first lover, appearing when all seemed lost. The emotional quagmire deepened, and as realization washed over us, I knew this moment was about to shatter our small world even further. Dean? She called, voice steady despite the rain. What have you gotten yourself into this time? As I stared at her, everything that tied us all together unraveled into unfathomable complexity, spiraling into uncharted territory. The rain continued its relentless march, drenching everything in a thick sheet of gray, but the world beyond the storm was obliterated by the woman who stood before me. Jenna's appearance felt both surreal and painfully familiar, her presence igniting memories that had long been buried beneath time, regret, and the weight of my decisions. I couldn't wrap my mind around her standing there, a vivid flash from my past, as if everything I had fought against was now given new life. "Jenna," I said, her name falling from my lips like an unmoored boat. The twins, still brimming with joy, teetered between the laughter of childhood and the gravity of the adult world unspooling around us. They tugged on my heart, but the sight of Jenna had snagged my breath. Her gaze shifted from me to Ethan and Sarah, confusion painted across her features, searching for meaning in the tempest of emotions weaving around us. Are these the twins?" she asked, voice barely piercing through the noise of falling water. As she stepped closer, I caught a glimpse of the vulnerability shadowing her once familiar expression. Reality unfolded like a flower, its petals heavy with secrets, and all I could think about was the fracture that would inevitably form. "This is not how I wanted them to meet you," I said, the ache in my chest intensifying as I turned my attention back to the twins. They were oblivious, splashing through puddles while their fate spun from fragile strands of hope into an entangled mess of uncertainty. "Who is she?" Ethan demanded, his voice cutting through the downpour like a knife. Protective instincts surged from him, eyes narrowed sharply as if I had unveiled a monster instead of a part of my history. "Ethan, please," Sarah interjected, her authoritative tone barely masking the fear trembling beneath. "This is Dean's past, his life before us, but what does that mean for the twins?" He shot back, a blend of jealousy and frustration igniting in his voice. The tension thickened, wrapping tighter around us like a noose, making it hard to breathe. Jenna stepped forward, her brow furrowing. "I didn't know you had children, Dean." "Why didn't you?" "I didn't want this," I roared, the anguish clawing up from the depths of my soul. "I didn't want any of this to happen, not now, not like this. It's not fair to them." Jenna's gaze softened, and for one fleeting moment, I felt a connection pulse between us, a thread woven with nostalgia, longing, and what could have been. "What happened to us, Dean? Why did you leave?" The question hung in the air, taut and unanswered, a sharp reminder of the dreams we had once spun together beneath starry skies. "That I didn't want to hurt you," I mumbled, the truth suffocating me. "I thought by stepping away, I was protecting you from my mess." I never expected to. I paused, tears threatening to spill as I struggled to articulate the clash of emotions building within. The moment the incredibly sweet sound of laughter erupted again from the twins felt jarring against my heart, a bittersweet reminder of dreams unfulfilled. Ethan took a step toward me. "You're not thinking about leaving again, are you? You can't just come back in and hurt them more." The landscape of this emotional battlefield shifted dramatically, each person grappling for control amid a storm of feelings, memories, and hopes. The pain rippled through me. I felt the suffocating weight of accountability, responsibility blinking like a haunted light in the distance. Could I bear it? As my heart tumbled within my chest, Sarah took a small step toward Jenna, her expression softening. "What's done is done, but we have to figure out how to protect our children." Her voice, laden with care and concern, somehow became a bridge amid the tumultuous waves of emotion swarming around us. "We can't let our past dictate their future," Jenna regarded her, eyes glistening as she searched for something within Sarah's understanding. It was a kindness I had not anticipated, yet desperately needed a willingness to navigate the labyrinth of shared history for the sake of the innocent. My heart lifted momentarily, the horizon of hope peeking through the storm clouds of despair, yet before I could cling to it, a sudden gust of wind sent chills racing through my bones. "Dean," Jenna murmured softly, "I came back because I wanted to make sure you're okay, because I still care about you." The admission flickered with sincerity, and I caught myself holding my breath, weighing my past against the reality of my present. Ethan glanced between Jenna and me, each breath brimming with unspoken threats. An acknowledgement of risk loomed between us all. The children danced in the rain, every drop a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing in our hearts. How could joy exist in the same space as anguish? Then, a crack of thunder erupted overhead, the storm unleashing its full fury. What should have been a moment of reflection morphed into chaos as a powerful gust raged against the gazebo, sending one of the twins tumbling. My heart leaped into my throat as I flung myself forward, adrenaline surging, desperate to catch them before they fell. Suddenly, Sarah lunged in the same direction, her expression locked in fierce determination, intent on saving her child. The scene unraveled into a scramble of limbs and cries, a cacophony of loves intertwined with fears under the relentless rain. The world melted into a blur, but as I grasped my twin's small frame, locking my arms around her, I found Jenna right beside me, supporting her other half. In that fleeting moment, our vulnerabilities aligned, threading together a precarious bond ignited by the cream of love layered with the darkness of our choices. As I steadied her against my chest, the little one glanced up, her eyes wide with confusion, innocence radiating like sunshine through clouds. "Why are you sad, Daddy?" In that instant, the world narrowed to her gaze, and my heart shattered, understanding that childlike clarity. But before I could answer, the air shifted, and as if summoned by fate, a chilling silence enveloped the chaos. Ethan stood frozen, a mask of bewilderment draping over his features, as the reflection of another soul echoed back to us from within the storm. Another figure emerged, drenched but resolute. It was my estranged mother, face lined with worry and an unyielding determination I had not witnessed in years. "Dean, what have you done?" she exclaimed, her voice raw and urgent, cutting through the rain-soaked atmosphere. All eyes widened, caught in the tempest of uncertainty, hearts racing as one more thread of the past tangled into our already frayed tapestry, leaving me gasping for breath against the rising tide of consequences threatening to pull us under. In that heartbeat, the future I had dared to glimpse vanished again, swallowed by the relentless cascade of choices that haunted my every move. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating, each breath laden with the weight of unspoken words. My mother's sudden appearance felt like an ambush from the shadows of my past, imposing itself upon this already fraught moment. Jenna and I were still trembling at the precipice of our shared history, while the twins, bewildered and drenched, stood suspended in their innocent world, completely unaware of the emotional minefield erupting around them. "Dean, why are they here?" My mother's voice trembled, cracking under the weight of disbelief. Her gaze flitted to Jenna and then back to me, searching for answers that I barely understood myself. "What have you done, Mom?" "This isn't the time," I started, desperation clawing at my throat. But she pressed on, voice rising above the patter of rain. "You've messed everything up again. Are you really putting them through this madness?" Ethan, fueled by his protective instincts, stepped in front of Sarah, forming a barrier between them and the unfolding chaos. "Who are you? Why are you here?" he demanded, the defiance of youth igniting a flash of fire within the storm. "Ethan, stand down," I urged, urging him to understand that, amidst all this confusion, I was still his anchor, but there was little chance of regaining any semblance of control. My mother's eyes were wild, an uneasy mix of frustration and despair. "Do you really think dragging someone like her back into your life was a good idea?" she spat, contempt lacing her words as if Jenna was a poison infiltrating our small sanctuary. "You don't learn, do you?" "You never learn, Mom, it's not like that." "Jenna," I struggled to form a coherent sentence. I wanted so much to explain that Jenna wasn't an it or a someone. She was a person whose veins flowed with laughter and warmth that could comfort a fractured heart, but as she stepped forward, I saw the fear flickering in her eyes, the fear of what this reunion could mean. To her, I was still a child lost in a storm, never truly growing up, always reverting to old patterns. "Don't," Jenna whispered, her voice cutting through the tension softly. She was terrified, and it was clear that seeing my mother only intensified her fears. "I'm not here to upset anyone. I just wanted to see how he was. My mother looked at Jenna incredulously, anger flaring anew. "You don't get to just waltz in and expect everything to be fine. You ruined his life once, and now, what, you want to do it again?" The rain poured heavier, drowning out our voices. The twins were fidgeting, the joy from moments ago evaporating under the weight of our adult conflicts. I searched Ethan's eyes, hoping he could see the truth buried beneath the debris of my choices. "Mom, you don't understand," I said, my voice strained. "It's not up to you or me. It's about them. About their future. They deserve to know, don't they? What they deserve is for you to stop bringing strays into your life," she snapped, and I felt a slight tremor of disbelief course through me. I stepped toward Ethan, lowering myself to his level. "Listen, buddy. It's complicated. Clouds can billow and block the sun, but light finds a way to shine through," I said, desperately trying to translate our chaotic situation into something he could grasp. We need to be open to how things are changing. To my surprise, Sarah chirped in support, her gaze steadfast and steady. We're family, Ethan, just like Jenna could be, too, if we allow it. Her voice was softer and steadier than mine, cutting a runway through the emotional storm. Ethan shook his head, confusion clouding his young face. 3 families? Is that what you're saying? Jenna looked pained, and I felt that same twist of regret I had grown accustomed to. No, it's not like that, she said quickly. But I do care about your father, and I only want what's best for you. I can't change the past, but I want to be a part of going forward if that's what you all want. Stay back. Ethan shouted, thrusting out a hand like a sword aimed at the past, and I felt my chest sink, watching his innocence fracture against the weight of our turmoil. But it was Sarah who breathed life back into the moment, her eyes sparkling with a flicker of compassion. She took Ethan's hand gently, pulling him closer. Look at her, Ethan. She's not here to hurt us. She's here because she wants to be part of something. The wind howled, adding its mournful wail to my spinning thoughts, while my heart hammered against my ribcage. I felt as if I were standing on the edge of a cliff, the crashing waves of the past and present colliding beneath my feet, threatening to pull me in every direction. Just as a sliver of hope began to seep into the cracks in my heart, a piercing wail cut through the storm. It was my mother, breaking down like the sky above us. You're bringing so much more pain upon yourselves. I turned fully toward her, the mantle of responsibility heavy on my shoulders. Mom, I'm trying to make things right. This could be our chance. Then, with the skies darkening further, a crack of lightning split the heavens, illuminating every face in stark relief against the storm. I could see the apprehensions written across Jenna's face, the hurt in my mother's eyes, the confusion on my children's innocent features, and just as the rain began to pour down again in great slashes, like the tears we were all too afraid to shed, the wind shifted with an ominous whisper as something caught my eye, a flicker of movement behind my mother. I squinted as a fellow trespasser stepped out from behind the trees, soaking yet resolute, and my breath hitched in my throat that it was her. The one woman who had once promised to join hands with me through thick and thin, now standing at the precipice of my life's turmoil. Dean, she called with a voice like shattered glass, trembling with the weight of the past colliding with the present. Her eyes searched mine, desperation etched across her features, and within that very moment, I felt the ground shift beneath me. Just as I was about to call out to her, the children's laughter suddenly faded, drowned by the thunder that rolled ominously overhead. The storm encased us yet again, a dire warning that we hadn't yet faced the full extent of what our past entailed. And as Jenna's gaze darted to mine, the realization broke upon us like a tidal wave: we were only beginning to confront the consequences of choices made long ago. The downpour intensified, each raindrop a reminder of the tumult brewing both outside and within me. I felt their weight pressing heavily on my chest, the familiar pain clawing its way back to the surface. The woman stepping from the trees was someone I thought I had buried deep in my past, yet here she stood, drenched but unmistakably real. My heart raced with a blend of dread and longing. That is this really happening? Jenna murmured, her voice an echo of the confusion swirling around us. The children remained silent, their young faces painted with a mixture of worry and curiosity. I wanted desperately to shield them from this storm, both the literal one above us and the metaphorical one raging within me. Clara, I managed to choke out, as the shadows of unresolved feelings danced at the corners of my mind. Memories flooded back: our shared laughter, our dreams, the love that felt so fierce yet ultimately ended in heartbreak. What are you doing here? Clara's expression was one of fragile resolve. I came for answers, Dean. I've heard whispers, about the twins. About you. As she spoke, she stepped closer, defiance stitched into her wet clothes. I needed to see for myself. Answers? My mother interjected, voice rising in indignation. What could you possibly need to know? You've already chosen to walk away. The storm erupted above, thunder rumbling as if in approval of her words. Clara didn't flinch. I had my reasons. But now, I see it's more complicated than I ever thought. Her words cut deep, and I could see the pain behind her eyes, a mirror reflecting my own anguish. Mom, Ethan whispered, his innocent voice slicing through the tension. Is she our mom too? The question hung in the air, charged with the possibility of connections I never thought could be made. No, I blurted out before my mind could properly catch up, the instinct to protect surfacing like a reflex. No, it's not like that, we're just old friends. A tightness formed in my throat as I felt the weight of the lie. I could see Clara's eyes browsing over the twins, and I knew my words were failing, but Sarah, ever the empathetic one, stepped lightly into the emotional tsunami. But what if she can be part of our family? Just like Jenna, no. My mother shouted, making the reins seem like daggers against our skin. You can't just allow this to happen, Dean. You've got to think about what's at stake. What they deserve is stability, not Mom, you don't understand. My voice broke, desperation cracking through as I faced her. I can't protect them from their history. Clara is part of that history. Just as much as Jenna is. Maybe they deserve to know our past before it defines their future. Clara's gaze met mine, and I was struck by the shared vulnerability that lingered in the air between us. It was a reverberation of unhealed scars and broken promises. They deserve honesty, Dean, she said softly, yet with a firmness that shook me. And I can only hope to be a piece of their puzzle, whether that means I'm an aunt, a friend, or something else entirely. But my heart sank as I turned back towards my children. Their eyes wide and uncomprehending, they hung dangerously close to the precipice of unfiltered truth. I felt their innocence slip away like grains of sand, and panic tightened its grip around my throat. Ethan turned to me, head tilting in confusion. Does that mean I have a new mom? He asked, sincerity etched onto his small face. I took a deep breath, practically vibrating with the enormity of the truth swirling around me. No, buddy, I started, my voice trembling. It means things are complicated. But family is more than just blood, it's about who we choose to keep in our hearts. I felt the thunder rumble again, a low hum of foreboding as Clara stepped closer, her eyes locked onto mine. I may not know what the future holds, but I want to be here for them. For you. And just as I opened my mouth to respond, hoping to assure her, an errant bolt of lightning lit up the entire forest, drawing everyone's eyes to the looming darkness of the trees. Suddenly, from amongst the shadows, a piercing scream resounded through the rain-soaked air, a chaotic sound that merged with the wind, an unearthly echo that made the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. Did you hear that? Jenna whispered, fear lacing her voice. We all turned, our hearts pounding, fear unfurling, and I braced myself for whatever lurked in the dark. Yet just as I was about to step forward, another figure emerged from the shadows, and I froze, wondering how this storm could possibly get more complicated. The newcomer strode into the light, not giving way to the downpour, and when our eyes met, I felt my heart drop into the pit of my stomach. It was the one person I had never expected to see, one whose existence could break apart whatever fragile peace we had precariously constructed just moments before. Surprised to see me? He asked, a smirk playing on his lips, and the weight of my past had just become an avalanche threatening to bury us all. The rain continued to pour, each drop drumming against the earth like a relentless heartbeat echoing my anxiety. All eyes were on the shadowy figure standing before us, his presence sending tremors through the fragile stability I'd tried to establish. Tom, my first love, the man who had made promises under sunlit skies that quickly turned to ashes after betrayal. What are you doing here? I breathed, almost pleading, as though denying his reality could erase the inevitable chaos he would bring. Just thought I'd check in on my family, he replied, mock nonchalance lacing his words. It was a facade I had grown to recognize all too well, the bravado he put on to mask deep-seated insecurities. The twins shifted slightly behind me, their little faces reflecting a mixture of confusion and fear. The weight of my past was swelling into a tidal wave, threatening to drown us all. Your family? I said, anger simmering just beneath the surface. Do you even know what that means, Tom? Clara's brow furrowed with concern, intertwining her fingers nervously as she edged ever so slightly closer to me. It seemed we were aligned in our unnerving understanding. This man could upend our lives in ways we weren't prepared to face. I want to see my children, he said, every word clipped and calculated. I've changed. I want a chance to be part of their lives. Jenna stepped forward, stepping instinctively into a protective stance. You don't get to just show up and claim to be their father. You left. You made your choice, choices are complicated, Jenna, he countered, irritation bubbling over. You wouldn't understand. That, Jenna's eyes flared with indignation, and I felt a proud warmth for her fierce spirit. Yet, that was smothered by the looming presence of my ex. How could I shield my children from the truth of him? You think this is about you? You left us without looking back, Tom. You walked away when we needed you the most. Ethan's brow furrowed again, questions brewing just beneath the surface. Dad, who is he? His voice cracked, a heavy silence pressing down around us. In that moment, all eyes turned toward me, waiting for the explanation that seemed to teeter on the edge of my lips. He's someone from my past, I managed, the words tasting bitter. And yes, he is your father. Your other dad? Sarah echoed, her sweet innocence a sharp contrast to the realities playing out around us. Can we have two dads? Ethan asked, brow knitted, hope flickering in his eyes even as the tension escalated. Not like that, Tom interjected sharply, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I'm not here to replace anyone. I just want to be a spare tire. Clara cut in, her voice cutting through the air like freshly sharpened steel. You can't just waltz in and expect everything you abandoned to be waiting for you. Who are you to judge me? Tom snapped, and for a split second, I recognized a flicker of fear buried within his bravado. You're not even family to them, just a friend. What do you know? Those words landed hard, and I suddenly felt the precise weight of Clara's world viewed through Tom's eyes. She had fought to carve her place into the lives of my children, and here was Tom threatening her existence. The shadows of hurt and unwanted truths loomed thickly around us, and the atmosphere crackled with anticipation as if we stood on the edge of disaster. Family isn't about blood, it's about who is truly there, I said, finally finding strength amidst the storm. You walked away even when we desperately needed you. Don't come here pretending you yearn for connection when you threw everything away the moment you made your choice. But Tom's eyes were cold as his gaze flickered over to Clara, who stood firm by my side, a small gust of defiance radiating from her. Seems like you've supplanted the past with someone better, he remarked bitterly, though I saw something deeper stirring beneath the surface of his bravado. Being better doesn't erase what you did, Clara replied, unwavering, a reflection of the truth we both knew. Ethan's face twisted with confusion. I don't understand, he whispered, small hands fumbling around mine. Well, help you understand, I reassured him, yet my own heart felt like it was being slowly torn apart. How could I promise clarity when I couldn't even find it myself? Suddenly the rain escalated into a shrill chorus, and the world around us darkened even further. Just as another jagged bolt of lightning sliced through the sky, a sudden screech pierced the air. Not the wind or the rain this time. It was Humana raw, desperate sound that filled the silence of our swirling chaos. Did I ask that, Mom? Ethan asked, fear edging into his voice as he peered over my shoulder, searching for some glimmer of assurance amidst the shadows closing in. The words felt like a fist tightening around my heart. I turned to find Clara's face pale, eyes wide with horror, echoing my own dread. The scream lingered like a thick fog, and as we all pivoted, I felt the stomach-churning realization. The past wasn't just coming back to haunt me, it was about to unleash an even darker truth. The raw scream echoed long after the thunder ceased its juggling act in the skies. My heart raced in chaos as it dawned on me. Clara's mother, my own mother, was nearby, tangled in our shared history, threatening to rip apart the fragile veil woven over our lives since Tom left. Mom? Clara choked out, her voice struggling to reach me beyond the periphery of shock. Every instinct within me screamed to protect her, to guard the children from this unraveling tapestry. I tightened my grip on Ethan and Sarah, their heads buried into my side, oblivious to the true weight of the tremors shaking the very ground we stood on. Stay behind me, I said with urgency, pushing past my fear and feeling a reluctant kind of strength surging forward. Would there be strength in facing the abyss of what we thought we had buried? The last thing I wanted was for the kids to see their mother crumble in the presence of yet another remnant from our tangled past. Please, no. Clara's whispered plea only thickened my resolve. I had to find her. Sensing her suffering, I pushed through the growing storm, not the one tearing through the skies, but the one brewing inside our lives. That we rushed towards the source of the cry, the rain stinging our faces like little arrows of despair, and just in the clearing ahead, there was a figure flailing in the mud, familiar and yet foreign. Clara's mother, once a steadfast presence in our lives, now vibrated with something more chaotic, her face twisted in confusion and fear as she clawed at the earth beneath her as if trying to dig herself out of a grave. "Mom!" Clara shouted, and instinctively ran toward her, her feet sinking into the muck before she could reach her mother's side. "Clara?" Her mother croaked, eyes struggling to focus. "You're here then." Her gaze sharpened, landing on Tom. "You? What are you doing here?" The tension rolled off Clara like waves of energy, a mix of relief and betrayal battling within her. "Mom, you shouldn't be," she faltered, the words choking in her throat as reality collided with the sanctity of our makeshift family. "Why are you all here?" Clara's mother continued, her breath coming in sharp bursts, a palpable dawning awareness settling over her. "What has he done?" Hatred dripped from her voice, targeting Tom like an arrow aimed straight for his heart. "Mom, it's not what you think," Clara began, stepping between them, her protective instincts ignited, but Tom surged forward, desperation clawing at his tone like a man drowning. "I've come to connect with my kids, Nancy. I want to be a part of their lives." There it was again, the theme of connection, as if he thought simply uttering the words could flip the pages of history. "Connection?" Clara's mother shot back, disbelief written across her features, and the distance stretched painfully between us all. "You think showing up, reeking of selfishness, constitutes family, Mom?" Clara interjected, shaking her head. "This isn't the time, not like this." The plea in her voice crackled with desperation, and I felt the storm inside her raging. She was caught between two worlds, both a past riddled with treachery and a present weighted by complexities we hadn't chosen, and there it was, the bitter reality that I had feared drilling into our midst. I reached out, placing a hand on Clara's shoulder, urging her to breathe through the escalating chaos surrounding us. Yet, in that moment, the weight of the unfolding drama was only punctuated further by a sharp sound breaking beyond the tumult, the crackling of branches, the violent rustle of underbrush. And that instant, a voice emerged from the shadows, calling out in a tone of authority. "What's going on here?" It was the police. The sound of sirens wailing in the distance shattered the tension, turning fear into a frenzy. The kids clung to me tighter, their small bodies instinctively seeking solace. I turned, seeing the officers clamber through the brush, eyes wide with urgency, spotlighted by the flashes of lightning that flickered mercilessly overhead. "Everyone stay back," one of the officers commanded as he approached, his gaze darting between Tom, Clara, and Clara's mother. "Mom, I need you to stay calm," Clara warned, trying to further distance her mother from the chaos, her own confusion now fractured by fear. "Please, let's just muddle through this together. Someone call for backup." The officer yelled, eyes locked on Tom, who stood still with a mixture of defiance and fear. "You, step back. We're going to sort this out." In a terrifying surge of realization, I recognized the approaching storm was far more than the tempest swirling above. This was about unresolved emotions and tangled relationships caught in a cycle of never-ending questions and broken ties. "Kids," I whispered, forcing my voice to stay steady, "it's going to be all right." Each heartbeat echoed like a steady drum, but this time, it was sharper, fraught with an undercurrent of uncertainty. I could feel Clara's tension radiating beside me, and I knew none of us were about to escape this moment unscathed. As the police scrambled closer, the potential for an even greater breach of our makeshift family became manifest. I could sense the tide shifting beneath us, threatening to sweep us all into darker waters. What other truths lay hidden, waiting to surface? What would happen to us when the storm receded? And then, just as the policeman prepared to confront Tom, an unexpected voice cut through the noise. "Wait." It was Ethan, his small voice trembling yet oddly grounded. "You don't have to do this." His eyes filled with innocence and fear, he turned toward his father, bewildered, caught like a leaf in the wind. The revelation spiraled through. His was his moment, too, and the weight of our parents' history loomed larger than ever. The tension hung in the air, frayed and ready to snap. All I could think was that somehow, this moment would define everything that we were, everything that we could be, tiptoeing precariously between heartbreak and hope. But in that resonance, one thought reigned above the rest. The looming shadows felt like portents of truths waiting to be unveiled, and none of us were prepared for what would follow. The rain continued to pour, drenching us in both water and worry, as the standoff twisted the air taut with unsaid words and unresolved tensions. Ethan, innocence spilling from every pore, stood resolutely, casting his small figure as a beacon in the chaos. Clara's mother shifted, disoriented by the scene, her brow knit in confusion, yet torn between her daughter and her long-buried resentment. Tom, bracing himself under the weight of years and regrets, seemed at once defiant and hollow. "Ethan, no," I murmured, reaching out to grab his shoulder, but he shook it off. His courage flooded the space, and I could see Clara's heart breaking a little more with each breath she took. "Dad, you didn't hurt anyone, right?" Ethan's young voice trembled but bore an innate strength. Mom said you were just coming back to be our dad." "I don't understand why everyone is shouting," the officer, eyes softened momentarily by the boy's innocence, paused in his tracks. The atmosphere shifted. It was less a battleground and more a fragile sanctuary threatened by the tempest of emotions swirling around us. "Ethan," Clara called out, her voice edged with exasperation and fear. This isn't the time, but it was too late. The boy had already exposed a fragile truth that we had all been avoiding. The vulnerability of that moment hung unasked and unanswered in the air. Tom turned away momentarily, his jaw tightening as he collected himself before pivoting back towards his children. "I didn't mean for any of this. I just wanted to be part of your lives." His voice cracked with sincerity, and I could see Clara's resolve waver, like the storm clouds overhead threatening to burst. Clara's mother, now entangled in a web of her own making, stepped forward, shaking with a mix of rage and hurt. "You don't get to turn this around, Tom. Just because you want to be their father now doesn't undo the past." Her voice echoed with bitterness and grief. "You think it's that easy?" The rain lashed harder, mingling with the rising tension, like the emotional storm brewing within us all. I could feel Clara trembling beside me, her own tumultuous feelings mirrored in her mother's harsh words. I stepped closer to her, whispering through the cacophony, "You don't have to protect him," but she shook her head, her gaze flicking between the two formidable women before her mother, a storm of painful memories, and myself, a hopeful but fragile offering of a future. "What if I want to understand?" she whispered, both to herself and to me, a flicker of doubt clouding her vibrant spirit. "Clara," I urged gently, weighing each word carefully. "This mess is for us to sort out. Your mother is hurting, and so is Tom. But what about you? What about the kids?" And just like that, a sudden crack of thunder claimed our attention again. Sirens wailed in the distance, echoing closer as the police gathered together in swirling shadows, now a police task force buzzing with urgency. Backup was coming, and with it, the intensity of the moment would only escalate. "Everyone stay back." One of the officers barked as he moved towards Tom, the confrontation looming like a storm cloud ready to break. "We can clear this up, but I need cooperation." Ethan, still standing firm, stepped forward again, bolstered by his father's presence. "You just need to talk. Like how we used to talk before all this," he said, arms crossing over his chest defiantly. A moment hung in the air, pregnant with possibility. For an instant, even Clara's mother appeared to be swayed, her fierce demeanor softening at the innocence of her grandchild's plea. There was something raw and vulnerable in the way Ethan stood so small, yet managing to hold the tumultuous tides of their past at bay. "Ethan's right," I interjected, emboldened by the child's unexpected wisdom. "We all need to talk, to hear each other. This isn't just about the past, it's about now. What we can do for our kids." My words. I watched Clara's eyes widen as if a light flickered to life within her. I could see the countless emotions crossing her face: fear, anger, and a deep longing that hinted at her desire to rebuild from the wreckage. "Why now?" Clara's mother asked softly, too softened by Ethan's courage. "Why today, after all this time?" "After we fell apart," Tom hesitated, the storm of their past resting heavy on his shoulders. "I thought I could just avoid it," he admitted, his voice strained. "But I can't. Not anymore," the officer's voice cut through the thickening fog. "We need answers, and we need to get everyone to safety." The authenticity of Tom's words collided with the police officer's urgency, and I sensed Clara's spirit rising reluctantly to face the truth. But as the moment threatened to resolve itself into muted acceptance, a new sound swept over us, a piercing cry from further down the hill, erupting with wildness and clarity. "Mom!" Sarah's voice rang out, terror threading through her tiny call. My stomach dropped as everyone turned toward the sound. "Stay here, Ethan," I commanded, tension knotting my gut as I broke free, plunging through the rain toward where Sarah stood at the crest of the hill, utterly lost in her own fray, the storm swirling around her like a cyclone. In that fleeting moment, I could feel the hopes I had for our family shattering, carried away like wisps of smoke in the soaking rain. And I knew, whatever truth awaited us in the shouts that echoed through the chaos, nothing would ever be the same again. As I reached Sarah, the realization struck one of our children was caught in the eye of the storm, and the parts of our past were colliding with our present in ways we could never have predicted. What darkness could surface next? What fated truths remained to be uncovered? The air felt thick with dread, and I knew the very ground we stood on was about to shift beneath us once more, flinging us into the unknown depths of what we had desperately tried to outrun. The shadows of the past were not dimming, they were rising like an unyielding tide, determined to reclaim what was theirs. My heart raced as I pushed through the relentless rain toward her, the weight of everything behind me crashing into the present like waves against a cliffside. Sarah stood there, her wide eyes filled with an innocence that had now turned to fear. I wanted to shield her from all the chaos unfolding, from the ghosts of our history that lingered far too close for comfort. "Sarah!" I shouted, the noise of the storm drowning out my voice. "What's wrong?" The moment I reached her, I knelt down, sweeping my hands over her shoulders, feeling the tremors of fear pulsing beneath my touch. "What is it?" But before she could answer, another nearby voice broke through the noise, vibrating with sharp, searing concern. "I can't find Ethan." It was Jenna. My heart sank, and time itself felt suspended in perpetual anguish. We had become so entangled in our own turmoil that we had lost sight of what mattered most, our children. "He was just right here," I exclaimed, panic surging through my veins as I tore my gaze from Sarah, the terror in my brother's voice resonating like a haunting over the storm. "Everyone, we need to regroup," one of the officers called out, his order piercing the chaos. "Let's keep the children close while we assess the situation here." As my mind raced, meeting Jenna's frantic gaze, the realization struck like a bolt of lightning. In our desperate need to confront the past, while standing at the threshold of reconciliation, we had somehow allowed the very essence of our future to slip through our fingers. All it took was a moment, just one misstep, and the sanctity of everything we'd fought for was teetering on a precipice. "Sarah, stay close to me," I commanded, taking her hand firmly, but it was too late. The world around us blurred, the shrieks of thunder masking the sound of the painful ruptures now unraveling. "Ethan!" Jenna called, voice rising above the gale, laced with desperation that reverberated through me. The chaos thickened, draped over us as I searched the browning treetops, making out their wavering silhouettes against the flash of lightning. "We'll find him," I promised, determination hardening within me, but dread pooled ominously at the edges of my thoughts. It felt like everything was colliding, our messy past swirled in the rain, and I was terrified of the burgeoning loss. Where could he have gone? Clara's mother pleaded, forcing herself into the storm with a courage I didn't know was possible from her. Despite everything, she showed a flicker of what it meant to be a family, through fear more than affinity, but as we began calling his name, echoes of our shared heartache rang hollow into the night. With every shout for Ethan, something deep inside me twisted and ached, all too aware of the fragility of our now, mire and all. "Over there!" Sarah exclaimed, pointing toward the maze of trees leading to the open field beyond the park. It was an all-consuming urge that propelled us forward, the need to unite overwhelming every other thought. He ran that way, adrenaline surged as I tore toward the direction she pointed. I could feel the pounding of my heart reverberating alongside the growing panic in my chest. Jenna followed closely, Clara's mother hot on our heels. The sounds of the storm faded slightly, replaced by a growing dread that I could feel coiling in my gut. "Ethan!" I yelled, my voice raw and desperate. "Please come back." "Dad?" A shaky voice drifted back, caught like a thread on the wind. Hope ignited within me, and I dashed forward, calling out to a ball of confusion that fluttered between trees. Before I knew it, there he was, me child standing frozen, strands of damp hair clinging to his face, wide eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and confusion that pulled sharply at my heart. He looked unsteady, caught between the storm and what lay beyond. "It's all right, buddy," I said, crouching down to his level, an effort etched with tenderness masked by anxiety. I reached out a hand cautiously. "I'm here. Just come back. To me." In that moment, all chaos wrapped around us into crystalline silence. Ethan hesitated, then took a shaky step toward me, the weight of my past rising like a sudden gust of wind between us. "Why are you sad, Dad?" His question hit me hard, each word tearing at the fabric of my conscience. What had I allowed to infiltrate his world? How had we allowed things to spiral so far beyond our control? "Because sometimes, grown-ups don't know how to find the right words," I murmured softly, holding my arms open wider. "But I promise you, it'll always come back. You're my son and nothing will change that." As he stepped closer, the storm began to recede, and the first rays of dawn crept timidly over the horizon, whispering sweet promises of redemption. And in that haunting moment, I realized the past would forever waltz with the present, fracturing the foundation we had sought to establish. My fingers closed around his small hand, anchoring us both, and like a fragile thread woven anew, we stood together against the chaos. Ethan smiled, the sweet innocence igniting hope within me, tender moments enveloping our hearts as Jenna's voice called out from behind, "I've got Sarah." Relief flooded through me as I felt the pieces of our family coming together anew like a patchwork quilt, stitched from the remnants of our broken dreams, yet still whole in its purpose. The storm that had raged against us was at last giving way to sunlight illuminating our path ahead. In the end, we were left holding everything we had fought for, the complexity of our past intricately woven into the tapestry of our present. Amidst all the unspoken words, the misunderstandings, and the fears, we discovered the truth: it was never about erasing our past but embracing it. "Together," I whispered, squeezing Ethan's hand tighter. "We face it together." The warmth of the sun spilled gently onto us, washing over the scars etched in our souls, a breath of fresh air speckled with the lingering remnants of rain, fueling the flickering flame of hope residing within two long-hidden hearts. And as the colors of dawn danced through the clouds, I realized something deeper: that in the face of storms, love would always direct us home. We could not erase what had been, but we could choose to remake what lay ahead, united and reborn through the storm. Just as we walked toward the warmth of daylight, an echo surged, the ramifications of all the tangled moments coalescing into clarity. I turned toward Clara, her gaze steady, mirroring hope gleaming within her eyes. Whatever battle still lay ahead, we'd face it together, as flawed souls stitched together by the fight to make sense of what we were meant to be. "From now on," I said, the words coating my heart in warmth, "we write our own story. And it would be a story worth telling."